Brooklyn Nets. Individually, the players have been balling, but collectively as a team, they have been struggling. And that brings up the question, Kyrie Irving, because his contract coming up, he got a player option. Should the Nets want Kyrie Irving? Well, not if they want to win, at least. Historically speaking, y'all got to answer this question for me. How come anywhere Kyrie goes, the team never really gets better? Go back to Boston, 2018. Before Kyrie shows up, they advanced to the conference finals. But then Kyrie shows up and they get bounced in the semifinals. Then Kyrie leaves again and they go back to the conference finals. That team, for whatever reason, was better without Kyrie than they were with Kyrie. But now let's talk about present day, the Nets, the Brooklyn Nets. Because this season, with Kyrie Irving, 10 and 15, but without Kyrie Irving, 30 and 23. Okay, you might say, Acho, that's a limited sample size. Let's look at Kyrie's entire tenure with the Nets, because it's still negligible. With Kyrie Irving, 54, 45. Without Kyrie Irving, 69 and 54. It's still negligible. So as I see it, should the Nets want Kyrie Irving long term? Not if they want to win, because he's just not worth the distractions. Slick Rick, you're the NBA analyst.
Yes, sir.
What's your thoughts on this Kyrie Irving situation? Should the Nets want him long term?
I knew it would happen at some point, Acho. You're crazy, man. Like, Kyrie Irving, yes, all of what you laid out is accurate. Cannot dispute any of that. But six-time All-Stars don't grow on trees. And do I have concerns about Kyrie Irving? Yes, I do. But I also realize how rare the talent is. And I will get the talent, and then I will work with the talent. Now, if it takes me structuring the contract in a way, like, do I want to sign up 5-6 years? No, I would rather keep it on a short leash. I'll pay him a ton of money. But I've seen what happens when Kyrie feels like he has a lot of latitude, when he has a lot of control. I want to be able to minimize that. But do I want to lose that talent? Joy, there is no way, no how that I am just saying I'm going to take a pass on Kyrie Irving. I think he's been overrated in some regard. I do not put him in the category of a Steph Curry, but he is a champion. He is a six-time All-Star. He is a phenomenal ball handler and scorer. We need to reclassify him as a shooting guard, but I'll get into that more in the second round. But I will reclassify him and I will keep him before I send him on his way.
Yeah, I'm sort of lukewarm on this because I agree with you. It's really hard to replace a talent like Kyrie Irving, and the distractions are overwhelming and exhausting. I am not a high drama person. I have one nerve, and if you get on it, you're out of my life. I can't deal with it. So I don't wish that type of
writing this down.
Tolerance on anyone. I would want Kyrie, but I don't want him to be my number two. The problem is, the other guy is Ben Simmons, who is more unreliable than Kyrie Irving, and some would argue much more difficult. So whatever you think of Kyrie Irving and the vax situation this year, you know, what's done is done, but that is a reflection of who Kyrie Irving is. He's going to do what he wants to do. To your point, he can't have a whole lot of latitude, or you're going to run into some situation and it's very unpredictable and unreliable. So I love the talent that Kyrie brings. The tolerance level is kind of teetering right there. There's always a balance that you have to reach with talent, but this is a talent league. You can't win without it. I would like Kyrie on the roster. I would also keep him on a short-term deal, but I don't feel good about him being the number two guy. I want someone else to be that number two guy. We know what we're getting with Kevin Durant. That's unquestioned. KD is a separate category altogether. When you go on from there, what is going to be the reliable, who's the other reliable person on this roster? Because it's not Kyrie, and it's certainly not Ben Simmons. That is where I think the Nets fall through. They have to get that guy in the building, that when KD needs time off, when Kyrie is unreliable, when Ben Simmons does whatever Ben Simmons is going to do, you have someone there.
You know what's funny, Joy? You're searching so desperately in your take for an individual that the Nets had. James Harden was on the team.
Yeah.
And why did James Harden decide to leave? I don't know, maybe because Kyrie Irving couldn't play at home games. I don't know, it's probably a part of the reason. Here's what I need an explanation for, both rhetorically and seriously. How comes teams don't get better with Kyrie Irving? Like, this isn't the Harlem Globetrotters. Maybe that's what y'all want to see, just a guy go out there and put on a show, and at the end, you know what the final result's going to be? Teams get worse with Kyrie Irving for whatever whatever reason. We saw it with the Celtics dating back to 17 and 18. We're seeing it with the Nets now in 2022. We have a half a decade sample size where Kyrie Irving's style of play just doesn't translate to wins. Do I love watching Kyrie Irving? Beyond the shadow of a doubt. Would I pay to see him? You better believe him. Would I draft him first at Rucker Park? No question asked whatsoever. Is Kyrie Irving one of the best ball handlers we have ever seen, one of the best finishers at the rim? Yes, yes, and yes. But if the goal is to win, he ain't winning. And when he's on the court, they don't win. Since Kyrie became a full-time player, the Nets are 2-4. Since Kyrie became a full-time player, meaning he could play at home, the Nets are 1-2 at home. The Nets are 10-15 when Kyrie plays. They're 30-23 when Kyrie does not play. I love watching Kyrie as much as y'all, but until I can get a competent explanation as why the teams that Kyrie Irving plays on do not do as well as the teams that Kyrie Irving do not play on, then why would I want to commit long-term to Kyrie? Because as we also said, he comes with a boatload of distractions. So beyond the fact that he's not conducive to winning, at least statistically in the box score, when it comes down to W's and L's, not points and assists, he's not conducive to winning. I need a better reason besides I just like Kyrie Irving playing and watching Kyrie Irving play to give long-term money.
Do you, though? Do you? Because how many people, and here's part of the equation that we have to acknowledge, it's not just about winning. It's about entertainment.
Sure.
It's about being an attraction.
Sure.
Kyrie Irving is an attraction.
Great. I got to stop you right here. I got to stop you right here, right now.
To see Kyrie Irving play.
And if I was, I don't know, in Charlotte, if I was in OKC, if I was in Sacramento, give me all that. I need to fill seats. I'm in Brooklyn with the Nets. I got KD. I don't need another guy out here just to be a distraction. I'll just get a dope halftime performer for all of that.
Okay.
I don't need a distraction. I need somebody who can help me win games.
But here's the reality, is that Kevin Durant made that part of the admission price. You get me, you got to have my boy Kyrie. And this is the one thing that I will be interested in seeing, because I believe, to answer your other question about why have teams gotten worse when he's joined them, because I believe that Kyrie is the type of player that you have to build a team to take advantage of. You have to be able to compensate for his weaknesses. And as much as I agree with you 1,000% that it scares me to death to have Kyrie and Ben Simmons, two, shall we say, fragile human beings on the same team, without a KD who seems willing to say, hey, fellas, we need to bring this together. Can you be sane for a couple days in a row? The idea of who Ben Simmons is as a player, to me, is the perfect complement for a Kyrie Irving. Because Kyrie Irving's weakness, one, is he's undersized, whether it's a point guard or a shooting guard, but classifying him as a shooting guard, and that's where I want to put him, I need a big, defensive-oriented, playmaking point guard if I'm going to move Kyrie to the 2. Does that sound like somebody familiar? That is exactly how we define Ben Simmons. Defensive player of the year candidate, happy to distribute, will do all the things that Kyrie is not particularly good at. When has he ever had the opportunity to play with that kind of player alongside him in the backcourt? So I understand the trepidation, but I look at the talent of a Kyrie Irving and I'm willing to roll the dice on it, at least in the short term. I don't want to commit to it long term, but I'm willing to find out, because here's the other thing. What's the alternative? Just KD, toe on the line, get us to the second round, and that's it? Or based on only having Kyrie for part of the season and no James Harden, no Ben Simmons, like maybe we make the play-in game? So I am willing to see what I'm capable of making out of Ben, Kyrie, and KD before I say demonstrably I'm done.
Yeah, the skill part in, how it looks on paper on the basketball court makes sense. That's why everyone was excited about this Ben Simmons trade. It's why when it happened, everyone was like, no, both teams won. They did not. But that's why everyone was saying that, because on paper, in theory, based off of Ben Simmons.
You changed your view of that?
No. I'm with you. If I'm the Nets, I'm in it now. Okay, so I'm going to run it back with KD, Kyrie, and Ben Simmons and see what I have. What other options do I have? Kyrie long-term is not a good deal for anybody, but I would have Kyrie on my team if I don't have to rely on him constantly. Take advantage of the talents and put other pieces around him to support him. When was Kyrie successful? With the ultimate team guy in LeBron, right? He had to be the number one in Boston, which is why that fell apart, because that is not his personality. Now, what are we dealing with in Brooklyn? He's the number two. Obviously, KD is the one. He is the alpha. But Kyrie is the second star. Even when James Harden was there, the conversation was still about Kyrie. So that's the problem. Kyrie cannot be put in a position where he is the pillar. He has to be the talents. And then you have the pillars around him. You have to support him. That's what we've seen. So I will take the talent if I can put those other pieces around him.
Here's my two biggest issues with both of y'all's takes, and y'all uttered the same statement that I hate. Slick said, what's the alternative? Joy said, what other option do we have? Y'all gonna live your whole lives in fear? Like, what are alternatives we
This
have?
isn't my problem. I'm not in charge of the Nets.
And it's not fear.
It
It's
is.
no.
It's reality.
Weighing your options and going, you know what? This guy is good enough for me to see if we can make this work with a new addition that would take advantage of what he does
Slick.
best and take care of what he does
When somebody
worse.
shows you who they are, believe them. Kyrie Irving has shown y'all who he is. An incredible individual talent. Joy brings up another great point. When did Kyrie succeed the most? When he was playing with an unselfish superstar. What is the antonym of Kevin Durant? The antonym, the opposite. Unselfish. That's literally the antithesis of who Kevin Durant is unselfish. KD is a killer on the court, but KD is not. We're not going to classify. Of all the attributes we would use to describe Kevin Durant, greatest shooter, one of the greatest talents, 6'11" with handles, a unique, rare hybrid. We're not going to list unselfish.
I don't know. He had 11 dimes against the Milwaukee Bucks.
And dimes, as we talked about in the A block, don't make you unselfish. I hear y'all. Kyrie is an incredible talent that you want to think, oh, well, can I really be better without Kyrie? I just don't like living in fear.
So you're just saying, no matter what, I need to move on. I am cutting bait with Kyrie Irving.
What I'm saying is this. I've seen this with Boston, and Boston had enough courage to cut bait with Kyrie Irving, and the next year they got better. I've seen it happen before when you can cut bait with Kyrie Irving and things don't drastically fall apart. Kyrie Irving left the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2017, and LeBron James still went to the NBA Finals. And he had just as little success as he did when Kyrie Irving was there, outside of when he came back from down 3-1. So all I'm saying is don't let fear keep you from making the better decision you got to make for your franchise. Don't listen to them, Nets. Y'all going to end up sorry.